We got a special speaker here today who's going to tell us about what it looks like to me one of the most powerful innovation laboratories in the globe. Production Institute is just starting to build a relationship with them to use production thinking to help bring these novel ideas and solutions into the industry. We're honored to have Rito Largo, who is currently managing director for Nest with EMPA, with us today. Rito is an entrepreneur with 28 years of experience in construction, renewable energy, manufacturing, logistics, and ICT industries. His specialties are sales and marketing, innovation management, networked and unconventional thinking, startup coaching, new business models, and facilitation between research and industry. Since 2014, he has been the managing director of the globally unique demonstrator Nest at EMPA, Dubendorf, accelerating research and innovation in new technology, systems, and products in the construction and the energy sector. So thank you very much for joining us today, and I'll turn it over to you.
So Gary, thanks very much for inviting me so to showcase Nest what we do. And I think you could also consider me crazy. I think also that you're saying the crowd, James was saying that the crazy people change the world. So and we like to change the world. So we are driven also by the fact that we must do more with less. Not only because we don't have enough labor, people, but also we believe that we have scarce energy and also we have scarce materials to deliver what we need to do. And a lot of new ideas in the pipeline of the industry and in the pipeline of the researchers, they die in this valley of death. So we were coming out with the question, so how can we really accelerate innovation in the construction? How can we overcome this valley of death? And how can we better bridge the gap between research and industry? And especially, how can we influence people to act differently, to buy renewable energy, maybe to invest into green hydrogen? How can we do that? And this is what we do at Nest. So we were saying, what is it that we need to have to accelerate innovation? Wouldn't it be great to have an environment that allows to test, enhance new solutions under real conditions? Wouldn't it be nice to have an environment that allows failure, where failure does not lead to claims, but it leads to the next version? What about to have an environment that says, hey, we can just do it again. Yeah, we can fail. That allows us to do a rapid prototyping. And this is exactly what we are setting up here in Switzerland. We're setting up at the beginning Nest as empty, as being space. Innovation needs space to build something in, to build something new in. And Nest today looks like that. So Nest is full of apartments and offices where people live and work in that showcase novel solutions. They showcase how energy efficiency can be improved. That showcase how a circular construction can be done. That showcases how digital construction can work better, can improve productivity. And I will make a lot of examples today to showcase a little bit what we do. And this is the other side of Nest. So the first thing for us to drive innovation is to have an environment that allows to demonstrate in a real life environment how the new solutions are working and also that things are failing. So if you build something in like a new office or a new apartment, if something fails, we just do it again. We change the material, or we do it again, we take it out, we remove it. So we can work in a rapid prototyping environment to test and validate new solutions, materials, and systems. And we can't do that alone. It is really our core belief that we need to drive innovation out of an open research innovation ecosystem. And we work currently with over 200 partners out of the research and the industry. And this is a very strong asset that we're having that really work in this community to drive innovation. And it's also an invitation for all of you. If you have a great idea, talk to me, talk to us. Maybe there's something we can do together. So let me make an example on some things we do. So we are driven here and in Europe and on the new regulations and idea about how to close loops, how can we do, how can we improve on circular economy, on circular construction. And we were thinking, we need to preserve building materials for the next generation. So what can we do that we just don't destroy building materials so that buildings can be built as such that are fully reusable? And that's what we did. And this is the end result. I will talk later on how we did things. Is we call it the urban mining recycling. This is a small building where two people live in, and in its construction as such, following a design for disassembly method, where actually Gary, you and me, we could take 3 screwdrivers and 2 wrenches and take the whole building, the small building, apart origin by origin. So we can make sure that the building material can be reused again. So we can do more with less. So we can use less materials at the second cycle, at the third cycle. And not only we can preserve materials, also we can preserve energy. But this we don't build like that today, at least not in Switzerland. We have to think much more, how can we design our trades as such that we can take the things apart very easily. A few pictures about how we did things. This is a picture from the pre-manufacturing facility of the timber boxes, and you might see there's not much automation here. That is true. So all the trades were included traditionally. So electricians, the plumbers, they were on site, and they were pre-manufacturing the module up to roughly 98%. They were brought on site. We were putting them in and put them together into a fully apartment within 3 days. And this is how it looked like during the construction. And this is from the inside. It's a unit for 2 persons. That's 2 sleeping rooms, and we use also a lot of waste materials, and also the piping and so is such built that nothing is welded. It's just being screwed together so they can be easily repaired or taken apart. So this is how we showcase that new solutions can be built and can be planned in reality. Another example is also how can we build with robots on site and off-site? What can we do? What do they deliver in terms of flexibility and cost? And one thing we did, we built a living unit called Digital Fabrication House that was mainly led by ETH Zurich. And we used robots on site to build rebar reinforcement nets, to build very fancy round walls that hold structures. But now the company, actually there was a company built out of that mesh. They were thinking, oh, this is our business. Our business is now to produce such on-site reinforcement nets to make a business. But they realized it's not that easy. It was too costly. So they had to completely pivot into a business. And they're now working in conventional rebar factories using their robot and the digital fabrication skills and competencies to reduce time and cost and waste materials. So I think that's also a very important point of Nest, that we also learned during process, and some technologies, if we thought they would work, they now work in a different field. So this could be something also for you working maybe in the rebar industry, to look at how can we improve even conventional rebar system using digital fabrication technologies. Another thing we're really working a lot is with timber pre-manufacturers. You're probably aware of this portal-like construction methods to deliver especially model construction. Now the question was, couldn't we improve also the flexibility of the building process to deliver one of its kind structures that gives us a lot more flexibility and freedom how we design and manufacture things. And you see here now the prototype where robots and people now are pre-manufacturing timber structures to optimize also the usage of timber. So this is heavily structurally optimized to put together a room at Nest to showcase that digital fabrication working with robots in the pre-manufacturing can be done. Another example, how can we prefabricate a slab that uses 70% less material? Maybe why want me to do that? Because it saves a lot of energy, saves a lot of material, solves acoustic issues, because we don't want to build another ceiling in between that adds cost and material resources. And that uses a lot of recycled concrete because we want to use our secondary materials and can be fully thermically loaded because we want to have the concrete be ready that we can load, let's say during night, cold energy into the building and release it thermally. And how does it look like? It looks like that. It's a pre-manufactured slab, pre-manufactured in a big factory. I'm unfortunately not allowed to disclose how it's done in detail. Just in disclose, it's done using a passive printing and active printing technology using sand printers, especially to print the molds and then where the form is poured into to produce such elements that the precursor they put on site so I can pretty fastly produce a room, produce a building, and this is how the whole system, including this nice stair, looks like in reality. And working with the company has already invested several million Swiss francs to put up the fabrication site to be able to produce those elements into the market. So the other thing is really how can we influence people, because we need to inspire people to work, to act differently, to make the next project better. We have roughly 10,000 visitors a year right now that are visiting us, and we are showcasing what we do. And my goal is always, as I'm saying, everybody should leave the nest with a smile on his face and get inspired and sees that the new things are ready to be bought, ready to be planned, and we have a way to do more with less. So we have a lot of events with partners that we are doing during the year. But I think also a very important element is fun. Also is something that we're celebrating, to have fun together, to achieve success together on site and have a great time together. So now, and I really liked also the talk of Keith and James about the green hydrogen, and say, okay, what if that we only are available or can innovate for buildings, but let's say also for energy districts. So to invent new ways how to deliver renewable energy, including hydrogen, methane, and other things, and just showcasing things we do. I mean, one area, at least in Switzerland, is that we need to find ways how to store energy from the summertime into wintertime and thermally. This is one alternative if you don't have a geothermal probes. This is a water tank. This 60 cubic meter where water, because it's a great phase change material, is able to store and release hot and cold energy. So this has been built at the nest also to test and validate how such a water tank really can improve the energy efficiency of energy districts. Another thing, maybe more technically here, is also what Keith was mentioning here on the left-hand side. It's a small electrolyzer. So we've been producing hydrogen for years now out of our electricity, but we realized a lot of the problems that Keith was mentioning. And we found maybe another way how to tackle that, because we also believe that we need to clean up the atmosphere, mining the atmosphere. And you see here on the right-hand side a small Climeworks machine, like the machine they have in Iceland, that takes CO2 from the air. And combining hydrogen and CO2, you can produce methane. And methane is very easy to transport. So we believe this could be another way how to solve the energy issues, because let's say Switzerland as a country relies on energy imports anyway. And we're working currently with Oman that has identified massive land reserves to produce PV, hydrogen, and now also methane. So, and I think, James, you were asking, hey, do we have a pilot that we could work on? Yes, we could. Or actually, we should talk to each other to see if that's maybe something that we could work together and also see how we can optimize the system. Let's say Oman, Switzerland, and this is a proposal. And James, maybe we need to interact then later on this, that we could combine those great approaches. We also work on data centers because we believe that data centers, or at least edge computing, can contribute to the heating of buildings. You see here retrofitted CPUs where the heat is transported over these green and red cables. So we really can directly get the heat from the CPUs into our buildings to further optimize our energy districts. And with that, you see here a little conceptual drawing that is we combine with the building technologies, with energy, with mobility, and having that and having a lot of data that allows us to drive artificial intelligence models. And we have quite a lot of startups now that are coming out the last 2, 3. They were also based on the Nest data. So the startups are using the Nest data to come up with new models to actually optimize how we could plan energy grids extremely efficiently using artificial intelligence, so they can do that roughly 80% faster than a conventional a planner would do today, or a method that is able to take something very old and optimize it with artificial intelligence to optimize 20 to 40% of energy that we have in old buildings. And that's not just something like a stupid old thermostat. At least, let's say in Switzerland and Europe, we're using passive systems for our heating system, this thermostat. And now, if you have a thermostat that is able to send data to the cloud and receive control commands from the cloud, they developed an artificial intelligence that learns within 2 weeks, just based on the data of the thermostat, how the thermal system of a building behaves. And having that information or intelligence, if you want to say, and add that also with how the user behaves, you can save up between 20 and 40% of energy in an old building by just using this technology. For me, this is a great example of how to combine old school stuff we have using new data-driven artificial intelligence to come up with much more energy efficient solutions. Let me give a little bit an outlook and what we're working on in the next 2 years. We're working on negative emission technologies, because it's our belief that not only we need to be net zero, but also we need to clean up the atmosphere, and the construction industry having a huge volumes of materials used would be a great target of such technologies. And you see here on the left-hand side, the 2 researchers and holding a CO2 negative concrete in his hand. And we are currently working on a nest unit that we start building next year that will showcase that buildings can become carbon sinks, real carbon sinks, and for several cycles. So this concrete that we're building on can be recycled several times, where the carbon that these black pellets replace the aggregates in can be stored in the recycling cycle and must not be destroyed. So we have a way to preserve and store CO2 or carbon at least for 4 or 5 cycles in the concrete. So we believe that we have found a way how to massively store carbon, also having a commercial impact. The next thing we're working on is more also on asphalt and roads, and also how can we increase the recycling rate of asphalt. And we're starting building next year a new demonstrator that will showcase and demonstrate new asphalt and road solutions. And another thing, and it really came up to my mind also reading what you said in the talks before. I wrote here, we need to investigate production management as a new innovation topic for Nest. I'm saying I shouldn't investigate. It's mandatory for us that we add that, because that's something we miss really in really helping adding productivity to all our piece, to all our industry that we have. So for me, it's not only an investigation, but it's a obligation to see how can we bring in more production management concepts into Switzerland, as innovation topics into the market. For me, that's very obvious. That's something we must do to further advance, not only productivity-wise, but also to see how can we optimize the energy system, how can we work together. And I'm convinced it's going to help us a lot to further accelerate the innovation into the market. An invitation. If you're around, if you're in Switzerland, Nest is 9 minutes from the Zurich airport. Please stop by. I'm happy to show what we do and to interact. And but also, if you have a great ideas, I hope there's something I want to test or so, please shoot me a mail or give me a call that we can discuss. And yeah, and as I said, we are extremely happy to collaborate and to receive new ideas, to discuss crazy things, and be crazy, be open-minded to change the world. And with that, thanks very much for your attention.
Wow, that was really interesting and stimulating. And
Thank
our
you.
audience, if you didn't find that encouraging and make you think, then I guess you weren't paying attention. That's some really good stuff.
Good.
And I love your
Thank you,
crazy
Gary.
people change the world phrase. How do ideas find you?
From all over the places. I'm sure we use on a base, let's say, on all the existing projects from research and the industry. So usually, let's say also research and industry, they have a working relationship already. So they're working together. It's something we leverage on. We talk directly to industry also about their innovation pipeline. So we work with them. And sometimes ideas just arrive from visitors. They say, hey, have you thought of that? And we said, no, we have not. But hey, this is a great idea. So I think this is a very important point that innovation or actually ideas need to arrive from a lot of places, from bottom up, but also from a top-down strategic programming that we said, okay, we need to solve energy efficiency, renewable energy. We need to solve circular construction, design for disassembly. We like to address digital fabrication. So those were the strategic programs we had, and now the new strategic program is negative emission technologies. So it's a mixture between top down, bottom up, and from everywhere actually. And now even now talking to you guys and say, hey, production management, hey, we need to add that because this is a great driver where we really could enhance.
And we agree with that. We look forward to building a relationship with you and
Well,
exploring the possibilities of that. Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
thank
thank you very much for your time and
you. Sure.
contribution today. And we look forward to hearing much more from you and engagement with you from the Institute. So thank you, Rito.
Thanks for having me.